There are 10 principal Upanishads. Sometimes they are considered as 12 or even 13. Though the number of Upanishads available to us today is more than 100 or even 200 or 300. But they are all recent, what we call post-Buddhistic and some even post-Christian era. The most authentic Upanishads are those on which Shankaracharya, the great philosopher of the 8th century AD, has commented and also has quoted from in his commentaries. They will be about 13 or so. The principal 10 Upanishads, which are all recognized to be pre-Buddhistic, namely before the 7th century BC, are the following: Isha, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Mundaka, Mandukya, Taittiriya, Aitareya, Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka. Another one is the Shvetashvatara. And one or two others also are quoted by Shankaracharya in his commentaries. But he wrote exhaustive commentaries on the first 10 of them. Some of these Upanishads are very small. The smallest, with only 12 verses, considered to be the most profound among them, the Mandukya. The next bigger one is the Isha, the first among these Upanishads, containing one of the profoundest utterances of all the Upanishads, namely, Ishavasyam idam sarva yat kinchat jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha madrita kasyasvithanam. The whole universe is filled with the Spirit of God. He pervades everything. All the changing panorama of the universe is filled with the Spirit of the Divine. Nature and man is ablaze with divinity according to this verse. The longest Upanishad is the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, a veritable forest of thoughts, ideas and inspiration, dominated by 4 great personalities, namely the sage Yajnavalkya and the great king Janaka, and Maitreyi, the wife of Yajnavalkya, and Gargi, the famous philosopher and mystic, who interviews Yajnavalkya in a great philosophical debate. Now this is a literature of such unique quality. You will find a student in search of truth, trying to penetrate with the mystery that life presents to all of us, sometimes unable to achieve results by his own unaided efforts, hears about a great teacher who has realized the truth for himself. And this student quietly goes to the teacher and asks him a question that is agitating his mind for a long time. Such a student you have in Nachiketa of the Kathopanishad, a little boy, hardly 12 years old. A second student you come across in the Chandogya Upanishad in its 7th chapter, that is Narada, a great scholar and a great student of truth. It is amazing that Upanishad presents Narada as much learned and yet unfulfilled, tense, unhappy. And the way the Upanishad opens the episode brings it so close to modern man. For modern man has much knowledge, great sciences, technologies. How many subjects we study today? Yet we are unfulfilled, unhappy, tense. And we are in search of what lies above knowledge. The late Bertrand Russell refer to this predicament of modern man when he says in his book, The Impact of Science on Society, is opposed to our speeches, where he says, we have much knowledge today and yet much folly along with that knowledge. We are moved by folly as to ends and skill as to means. That's what we are, unhappy, tense, unfulfilled. And he concludes by saying, unless men increase in wisdom as much as in knowledge, increase of knowledge shall be increase of sorrow. Now, this remark of a modern thinker finds its expression in identical language with greater passion in the words spoken by Narada, this student in the Chandogya Upanishad, 7th chapter. He approaches a great teacher by name Sanat Kumara, a teacher who has realized the truth about the world, the truth about himself, the infinite, immortal Atman, the pure self, of the nature of pure consciousness. The student asked the teacher, Sir, please teach me. I know many things. I have become a scholar in many subjects, and yet I am sad. I am unfulfilled. I am unhappy. And I have heard from great teachers like you that only one who realizes the infinite self, the one self in all, the divine in the heart of man, that can become fulfilled, that can be beyond unhappiness and sorrow. So please take me across this ocean of sorrow and unfulfillment by maturing my knowledge into wisdom. And the rest of the chapter of the Upanishad is the education of the student Narada in that great technique of transforming knowledge into wisdom and naturally unfulfillment into fulfillment. This is one such episode. There are several such in the Upanishads, so lofty and yet so human. And we are all searching in the modern age for something that can really fill the heart of man, making for human fulfillment. Nachiketa, the other student, also is in quest of the same truth. And because of that single-minded devotion to truth, he could not be deflected by any amount of temptations thrown by his teacher Yama before this wonderful student. Temptations of power, pleasure, various other distractions. All of them the boy rejects. Give me truth. Give me knowledge of truth. I stand by it. And so in that whole Upanishad, the Katha, where the story of this boy Nachiketa comes, you are in the presence of man seeking for truth in the depth of experience. All through the Upanishads, that's what you find. Truth in the depth of experience by a depth study of nature and man. Today, the modern mind is confronted with the same problem. We have achieved much knowledge. We have tried to clear the mystery of nature around us. The impressive discoveries of physical science during the last 4 centuries are discoveries trying to unveil the mystery of nature, the mystery of the environing world. But what do we find as a final result? So far as clearing of the mystery of the universe is concerned, modern science has only intensified that mystery. The world is as mysterious to a great scientist today as to a newborn child. To a newborn child, the world is a buzzing, booming confusion, says the American philosopher, the late William James. It has not ceased to be a confusion and a mystery to the greatest minds of today. But today's scientist discovers a greater mystery looming behind the mystery of the physical universe, namely the mystery of man himself. Man the thinker, man the seer, man the knower, man the observer, and slowly and steadily the searchlight is being thrown from the external universe, from the observable universe, to the observer himself. That is a profounder mystery, as expressed by the scientist Lincoln Barnett in his famous book, The Universe, and Dr. Einstein. He says, we cannot understand the vast, veiled universe in which our life is cast simply because we do not understand ourselves. This was exactly the situation that obtained in the intellectual horizon of the great sages of the Upanishads. They studied the world outside, but they found the world becoming more mysterious as you try to know it, and they came across this profounder mystery, the mystery of man himself, his self, his awareness, his consciousness, his being the subject and not the object. And they turned their attention to this great mystery, and the discoveries they made are of an immortal quality. That's why we study these books today, because they just take off and take us to a deeper level where our ordinary knowledge ends, including our scientific knowledge of the external world.